right. What's going on, everybody? Thank you once again for tuning in to Let's See Where This Goes From Here. I am Miguel V, your host, with my co-host, Missy. Looking at episode 2, baby. So we got the first one out. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We are here today to talk about a little bit. I know we left off last week. I don't want to say a cliffhanger, but just we were going to talk about how we kind of got into this running game. And just, whatever events have happened between then. So, Missy, how are you? How's going on?
I'm good. I'm tired today.
You've been busy this weekend.
Been busy this weekend. I have a very busy week. Yeah. So I just feel like I'm gonna be tired all week. So.
Do you want to tell our rabid listeners as to why you were so busy this week?
Oh, well, so I decided I'm not moving. I'm staying where I'm at. And so I've been unpacking everything that I started to pack and go through. And so yeah, not fun. Not fun stuff, but I'm doing it and getting it done.
You are happy it's done, though.
Well, when I have not quite yet, I still have a few more things to do. But once it is done, I'll be very happy it's done, because then I can just because right now I feel like I've been living in disarray and it's hard for me to function like that. So
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
What do you got cooking this week? I know you said the week's gonna be busy. Anything exciting or just regular?
No, nothing exciting. We have a work conference in town, so I have things there's a presentation, but that's really nothing. It's more just I have to be like in Grapevine by 9 a.m.
That's not too bad. It's a straight shot on 121, right?
121 is one. Okay, I don't know if it's Grapevine or Grand Prairie. It's whatever's near the airport. So
Grapevine.
I have to.
Grapevine.
Okay. No, I think I just take 635. So
you can do that.
Or somewhere. I don't know. I know however I go to the airport, 635, that's how I go. And that'll be a very long day on Wednesday. And then just working. We have market presidents coming in, so there's items I want to get done so they can, I can talk to them about it when we're there and stuff like that. So just work.
It's funny because we obviously, we talk about running and we joke around and we kid about stuff, but at the end of the day, we actually have regular jobs.
I know we're not elites, damn it.
I know that get in the way of us doing shenanigans and tomfoolery. It's annoying. Exactly. My week's not going to be too bad. I got to do I did the reviews, and then I had to have management approve the reviews or make tweaks to them as they deemed fit. And the problem with that is they do change the reviews sometimes. So now I have to go back and deliver those reviews to my employees. And there's always, not everybody's always agreeable. And sometimes I understand why. I mean, the criteria, you have to give these reviews based on a criteria, and the criteria seems loaded. Sometimes it's like almost like it's designed to not work for you. So I get some of the frustration every once in a while, but that's I think the biggest chunk of my week. I don't have a lot cooking so far this week. That's it, just reviews. And then Miles has the spring fling on Friday night, which is I know. Yeah, that's right. He wanted to go. No, he's a man of the people, so he always likes to show up to these events.
Well, yeah, it's a dance, right?
It is, but okay, I don't think he's going to dance.
You don't know what he does when you're not around.
I go there. I have to be there, actually, whether I wanted to or not. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to be there.
Are you on a committee or something?
No, they just you have to have at least one parent per family.
I've never heard that before.
This is the first one we've gone to since the pandemic. So the last dance that he went to for school was actually we'll say a Valentine's Day dance, for the lack of a better term. It was around that time of year. Mm-hmm. And then literally 2 weeks later, the world shut down. So that was like the last time those kids really got to have a good time. And it was around this time. I mean, it was because he has the spring fling and then he goes on spring break. So he's off for a week. So it's like a fun way to kind of just to be done with the school for the week that night. And then we go to San Francisco actually that Sunday. So
yeah, that'll be nice. Hopefully it won't be too cold there. And that'll be, so you leave Sunday.
Yes.
And you come back. if you want.
Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday
Okay.
afternoon. Yeah, so we'll be there for 3 days essentially.
Yeah.
But we're looking forward to it. It's good. Again, didn't do a lot of traveling the last few years just because of stuff going on with the fam, and
Mhm.
now we're kind of getting back into that a little bit. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
but so yeah, so although while not Metal Monday, it is in Tokyo. It is,
In
and
Tokyo, and we had two runners there.
we did. We had two of our very good friends, Lisa and Sheldon,
Mm-hmm.
who now Sheldon is actually a faster runner, but he is Lisa's husband, and he
They're
is a saint,
soulmates.
soulmate.
Soulmates.
Yes,
Yes.
and he is a saint among saints. I will tell you that right now. So he actually, him and Lisa and Sheldon both. Lisa's our girl. Lisa runs with us. She's one of our people. She's part of our regular run village, and Sheldon just really tolerates us because we can be rambunctious sometimes. Um, but he is a gentleman amongst gentlemen, so I love Sheldon. But they did run and they did complete and finish the Tokyo Marathon yesterday for us, but I guess yesterday for them too at this point. But yesterday was Sunday in Tokyo. It is now
Yeah, so they
Monday, I
finished
believe.
around like 12:30 a.m. our time, and it
Correct.
was I don't know, probably I don't know what time it was when
The
they.
14-hour time difference. So it was still Sunday. I think it was like 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock Sunday for them.
Okay.
But yeah, congratulations to Lisa and Sheldon. Congratulations to everybody who ran Tokyo and finished. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. I mean, that was a long time coming for her because she got hurt, and
Well, her
so
and Shaditria were supposed to run it the same year.
Shaditya,
And
I
I think
love
she
her.
ran it a year or two earlier. So,
Yeah, I don't
but
think
and then Lisa had injuries, and she's gotten over and did amazing, and that's very cool. So very happy for her, and they're gonna celebrate by enjoying, I think, Japan for some more days.
she was funny because she had messaged all of us this morning or last night while we were all sleeping, and she said that all she cared about was making sure she stayed ahead of the girls with the balloons. What is that? Do you know what that is?
I'm guessing that that's
The
the
sag wagon.
yeah, but maybe they
Okay.
have a different way, I mean, different way of doing it, but because that is a real fear for Tokyo runners is that time limit.
Is beating that time limit. Yes, it
Uh-huh.
is. From my
Yeah.
understanding, the bathroom situation is very tenuous. Like you have to go downstairs into the subways or something like that and use the bathroom. So that's also
And
a
how
lot.
you throw away your fuel packets, your empty fuel packets and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of different rules I hear. So it'll be really interesting when she gets back to hear about her experience in Tokyo.
Yes, I'm gonna definitely pick her brain about that. Not that I ever plan on running Tokyo, but you never
Yeah,
say never.
I know.
And
That's
although I
why
don't throw,
like,
I
hey, I got into Tokyo. Let's all do it. We're like, okay.
we're good. Um, although I do not throw away my fuel packets when I run. If
No,
unless I
pockets,
put them in
yeah.
my pocket, yeah, and my pocket's usually a little gooey at the end of a run, but I do try to toss them when I hit a water stop, and I do try to be very. I'm not 100%. I'm definitely not 100%, but I do try to be very conscientious of tossing the cup into
Mm-hmm.
the trash receptacles wherever they may be
Yeah.
at the water stops also. But I do miss sometimes. I'm tired. I'm running. So,
Well, sometimes
um,
you're just not near one when you're finished with it, and so you have to put it on the ground.
well, I don't understand those people who run and like a quarter of a mile later they still have the cup in their hand.
That's
There's nobody there. Like every once in a while you see like a random cup, and I'm like, what is it? The feather from Forrest Gump just flew all the way here. But no, yeah. So Metal Monday for those who did Tokyo. So congratulations to all those folks. That's super
Mhm.
awesome. We were talking last week, so I know you have Marine Corps coming up and Fargo first. Fargo, then Marine Corps.
Fargo
Um,
Marine Corps.
I
And
did.
New York City.
What's that?
And spectating New York City, which that is what I'm really excited about.
And speaking of which, I actually did put my name. I did apply, so I did put my name in the hat for the lottery for New York City. So we'll see what happens there. But I do not have high hopes. I have applied for the lottery 7 times.
You're
This will be
fine.
the this will be the 8th time,
You're gonna get
and
it.
I have
I love it.
no
I'm
hopes.
so excited. Then we'll have like 7 or 8 people that I can hold signs for. If you guys need some ibuprofen, some fuel, I'll let you know where all my stops are. Unlike some people who were supposedly there for me when I ran it.
That is going to actually be a pretty sizable squad. Even if I don't go, it'll be a pretty big squad of people going.
I don't know if you're on that group, but they made a group for it, which you probably should be added in case you get in. But they're all staying at the same hotel so far. So
Well, I think it's in the regular DRC Run Walk group. Because I did see that, because Brenda had messaged first.
They did another group.
Oh, did they? I know they all spoke about it, because I know they're at the same Hilton.
Do you want me to add you?
Yes.
It's NYC, here we come.
No, I'm not part of that group.
Okay.
But I will be now.
There is a new group. It's because I know there is a new group.
Well, that'll be fun, though. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, fingers crossed. I'm not going to be sad if I don't get into it, because, man, marathon training is always tough. But I love New York, man. I'm from New York. The crowds there it's an amazing race.
And I'm gonna be so excited to spectate. Like, I'm gonna be eating and drinking and cheering the whole time.
My mindset's gonna be so different going into it this year. We're having run it already. Well, yeah. Well, you're not running this time. It's gonna be a lot more fun for you. But I think that's gonna be the difference in my mindset. I put a lot of pressure on myself when I ran that the first time, because I tried to get into it so many times. I'm from New York. I've always envisioned running that. Having lived in New York, I've spectated New York. I've watched New York on every Sunday that it comes on. I would be sitting in my living room just like amped up about it, because there's so many good stories that they see. When you don't live in New York, you get the ESPN version of it, and it's really just about the elites, right? And here, when you're in New York, it's a full day of coverage. So they have news reporters running next to runners, asking them about their story and why are they doing this.
That would have been real cool to have that. I don't know how receptive I would have been because I was dealing with pain, but that would have been cool to have, to be like, what?
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And so you get a lot of good stories and a lot of good, like, featurettes of the regular people, not just the elites. And then obviously you have some that are running for charity, so you get some of them that come in and they have a good story, but you get a lot more of the humanitarian story behind the running. And that's why I love running, is really the people. But yeah, so going into it, I'm just gonna, if I should get into it, I'm just gonna have fun.
Oh, until
zero expectations. What's that?
Nothing. Yes. I hope you do, because I want you all to be at one race so I can spectate and cheer you guys on and be support if needed. I just think it'll be awesome.
Well, it will be fun. It will be
You'll
fun.
be the only one staying at the Omni. Everyone else will be staying at
I'll wait. I'm not booking anything right now, but I will, if I do get in, I will look into this.
It's reserved.
I will look into the Hilton and see about staying there. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't always have to stay at the Omni.
You're fancy like that. But I guess I'll be hanging out with the husbands then.
Probably.
Because Mel, Carol.
You think Simon's coming?
Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Was that it? Okay, well, whatever.
Well, that'll be fun. It'll be fun to see everybody do that. And again, that's such a good race. Now that the mindset's different, and I'll have fun. Because, I mean, they don't kick you off the course. New York's like the one major where they don't boot you off the course. So have fun. Take your time. Enjoy it. Enjoy the humanity. Because the spectators, man, they are there. They show up. So
I'm going to meet so many people. I'm so excited. I'm going to meet so many new friends. Like, you have no idea how excited I am to spectate.
It is fun. It is fun.
I can't wait.
So that's gonna be fun though. But other than that, I got nothing cooking. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. I ain't gonna be mad if I get in, but I'm not gonna be sad if I don't. But I have no high hopes. Like I said, it'll be my 8th time trying to get in on the lottery. The one time I got in, we had to do that virtual to qualify. So
yeah, I know.
I know. So I know.
Yeah. But what about Marine Corps? When are you going to decide if you're going to do that or not? Oh, after you find out if you don't get into New York.
Yeah, I'm still pondering.
Okay.
Do I want to run a full, or do I want to do some more vacation-y stuff?
But everyone's going to be in marathon training. That's the thing.
I know. And I'll be there in some capacity. So, I mean, it's stupid.
Yeah.
I should just sign up for a race.
But also too, we need to talk to the group on how we're going to train for this season, because several said they did not want to do the same training we were doing.
Yeah, we probably, I mean, nobody has to train until June. So I guess in April, we should all sit down at some point, early April, and discuss what the future plans are as far as how we're going to train as a group. It'll be interesting, but it'll be fun. It's a good group. So
yeah. Yeah.
So that being said, Missy, I know that we left off last week talking about how we got into this running game.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies first.
Okay.
What made you
Okay.
want to do these long distance runs?
I had no thoughts ever about doing long distance. I did the 400-meter in when I was in high school in track. I hated it. It was hard. It's like 400 meters of sprinting. That was not for me. So therefore, when I got older, I would run just to, a few miles here and there just to keep in shape and get away from the house, from kids, husband, whatever. It was like my time because no one's trying to hang out with me when I'm trying to run.
Not
But
when you're running.
grocery store or somewhere else. They're like, oh, where are you going? Can I go? I want this. Da, da, da. So that was my only time alone. And then really what I think what started is my son, I think he was in third grade or something. They had like a 5K and Ocean to Orchid run. And so that was his first 5K. And so, ran it with the school there, and then just kept running. My son, he did track, so I can't remember what distances he did, but anyway, that kind of kept me going. And then also it was just my alone time. And then my best friend, she would run too. So we would run together. And that was a beautiful thing because none of our kids would want to run with us. No boyfriends or husbands would be with us. So it was our time to talk and have time uninterrupted without anybody. And then it just became more of a stress reliever thing. And then when I moved to Dallas, I only knew like 2 people. And so I would get involved in things just to meet people and to be social. So I did softball with my company at the time. I did kickball, I did volleyball, I've seen all these things. And then I found out about Run On. Actually, Run On was my first run organization that I ran with. And I think I started with them with actually just a 5K. It was just, again, to do a social thing. And then we did the DRC half. That was my first half ever. I think
What year was that?
I was just looking at that medal. I think it's 2009. I don't know. Maybe you can't see it, but it's 2009. So not a nice medal. I mean, it's not. No, it's not. It's like maybe this big.
Oh, it is tiny.
Yeah. And I can't bring it down because it's on that second or the top rod. But so that was my first half, and it was cool. It was fine. And then I just kind of would run by myself still because Run On to me, it was never a big. I never met like friends there or people like I have now. And it was very expensive. It was not cheap. I mean,
Really?
oh yeah. I mean, it was I think like $225 or some crap.
Oh, wow.
It was,
Yeah,
yeah.
DRC is pretty affordable.
Oh yeah, very affordable. I mean, granted, you don't have to have a membership with Run On. You just pay to do it. But
Yeah, you kind of make up for it in that price.
all right. But also I remember I did, but they had many different classes to take, like, or when I say classes, but runs. So I did take a trail running class with them before too. That was an experience. I I enjoyed the experience. It was an experience because I would never have gone to any of those places as far as all around Dallas. I mean, we went like to Flower Mound, Rowlett, all these places where like by, I guess, lakes and stuff, and we're running in woods and trails. And so that was a very different running experience because I did a half with that. And that was when I found out like trail running is way different than road running, which, I mean, I guess maybe to some people it makes sense, but to me at the time I didn't understand that. So but that was, and it was freezing cold because it starts like in January.
Okay. We know how you feel about that.
That's why I will never do it again. That was my one and done. And yeah, I'm directionally challenged, so I could not just be. I had to make sure I kept up because I wasn't about to be lost in the woods in 30-degree weather. So that was an experience. It was fine, and then I think I kind of fell off for a bit. When my dad got sick, and then at some point I got back into it, and that's when I searched for for a different run group because I just felt there was no real connections that I made and at Run On. So I found DRC, and right off the bat, it had great connections, and I liked the different programs. I think I started with the 10K there just because I was getting back, and then I went to the half, and you know how I got to a freaking full? So my friend
How's that?
Lavette, you know who you are, Miss Lavette. She was like about this marathon, and is a Twin Cities marathon. I think it's called Medtronic or something. I don't know. But anyway, she was gonna do it, and she's like, "Oh, I heard it's nice. It's so really pretty. You gone from like Minneapolis to St. Paul or something, and it's weather's nice. It'll be cool weather. It'll all this stuff, right?" And I'm thinking, I don't know, but I did want to do a marathon before I turned 40. I thought, well, how cool would that be, right? Like, because I didn't really know anybody who ran a marathon, and I was like before I turned 40, that's pretty cool. But I don't. I think I was 41 when I did it, and that's how it started. And so we did that marathon. I did not die because I had a fear of, when you see people dying at marathons, I thought, oh my God, I might. So I'm gonna take it
Just
easy. I
that,
won't
just that
die.
first guy who died, who ran it.
No, there's been a few, but so I did it. It was a great marathon. It was pretty. It was very pretty. I do recommend that one to anyone. It you run from two different cities, and then of course you're like done. You're like, I did it, never again. They were like, hey, Berlin, they're having a lottery. We should try it. I'm like, okay. And then before you can even think, you're
Yeah.
just like, yeah. And then that's it's over from there. It's over from there. So yeah, it was it's just a exercise thing, a stress thing, a social thing, and then also it makes you, because I think I'm mentally tough anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to have mental toughness to that. If you don't, you will develop that in that. And so I feel like that has gotten me through a lot of different things, because 26.2 miles ain't no joke. And in different weather and all this kind of stuff, or pains or injuries, like you have to dig deep down in your soul to finish some of those races. And uh, so that I got a lot out of it, and will continue to get out of it. I don't know how long I'll continue to do marathons, but I'm not gonna put a date on it because I have no idea. But I mean, I've already told myself I will forever be a runner. I will forever be a runner.
It's well deserved. It's well deserved. So let me ask you this. So you really just went into it. You started small. You were doing small local runs like around your house just to kind of get yourself some headspace and
Yeah.
de-stress.
Mhm.
See, I was very similar, I guess. When I lived back in New York, I would run as part of like working out. You know what I mean? And I was also a lot younger back then. So I would do like 2 or 3 miles, 2 or 3 miles. I think the furthest I ever ran when I lived in New York was like 5 miles. I think that was the furthest. And no, it wasn't until I got to Dallas. And so I was obviously much older. I did run my first marathon before 40 though. Everything kind of, it all happened very quickly. I mean, once I started running, I just started running. So do you have any like, I don't want to say superstitions, but any kind of like routines and habits you have to do before races, or
Yeah.
nothing? How'd you feel? What were you thinking when you were finishing your first marathon?
I was like, honestly, I was like, please don't let me die. I tried to see those people fall out at the end, or
But
be.
did you die?
I didn't. I didn't. So that I could have run that one faster, but I had it in my head like, let's
Don't
not
die.
die. So now I don't have that fear.
I
So,
don't think I've ever been afraid of dying while running a marathon. I'm
really,
very resolute. I'm very like when I come marathon day, like I'm very like emotionally focused and mentally focused. Like I'm just very honed in on it on that day because like, and we said this last week, there's a big difference between running a half marathon and a marathon.
mm-hmm.
Now, and again, at the risk, I don't want to sound pretentious because I've said this before and you will hear me say this many, 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 many times. I am a non-elite runner. Like you have those super fast runners and then you have the people behind them and then you have the people behind them and I'm probably behind that group of people. Like that's kind of where I fall in as a runner. Um so I'm not going to break any land speed records, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
I just so you kind of have to be you're out there for so many hours when you're running a marathon. You need to have, and I say this to people when I'm pacing, when I'm a pace leader for the Dallas Running Club, or even when I'm pacing a race. I tell people that these long distance runs are like 90% mental, right? If you've done, and I'm not advocating this, so people do all of your training program, just so you know. That's my do as I say, not as I do. But if you even did half of the training program, I mean, technically, you could probably run a marathon, right? You may not be happy at the end of it. You may not be happy.
I don't know about half.
I've done it. Wasn't happy at the end.
When you tell me you're gonna die,
You're gonna die. It was so good, but you didn't even do half. You did less than half. Yeah, I know. So, I say half. I say half. Missy proved me wrong, but I say half. Right?
yeah.
If you do half of a training program, you can physically gut out a marathon, but it's really it's mental at that point, right? Like physically you can get your body to do it, but you're going to be hurting at the end. But it's how many people, and unfortunately I've seen this, right? I love the humanity part of running. Like I love the human aspect of it because that's really what it is, just people with, I don't even want to say 2 feet. Some of them, there's always one person with one leg running right past me at every goddamn marathon, just flying right past me, right?
Yeah.
So it's just people that have, heart and determination that really just, knuckle up and go ahead and blast through that race. I mean, the year we ran in New York, there was a goddamn duck that ran the marathon. Duck.
Yeah.
He's on Instagram. He's very popular. But it is a mental game, and and like you had said when you were talking about it, if you are not mentally strong and you train for a marathon, you will be stronger. I mean,
Are we sorry? Yeah.
you will find out a lot of interesting things about you, and it may restore your faith in humanity also. I've also said that. I remember my first post race, my first 2014 when I ran the Dallas Marathon. That was my first marathon that I ran. I did like a post race rumination on Facebook, and I put it out there. And I had said, if you ever want to restore your faith in humanity, spectate, volunteer, or run a marathon. And the reason why I say that is because to see people out there doing that and struggling and still getting through it, and to see people out there helping total strangers, and you get to a water stop of all walks of life, right? I mean, the Dallas Marathon has high school water stops, Cub Scout water stops, Boy Scout water stops. There was a Muslim Shiite temple water stop. I mean, there were just all kinds of water stops, and all those people were the most beautiful people on the earth because I was so thirsty. You know what I mean? And in that race and in that moment, it's really complete strangers from all walks of life and people you may not necessarily associate with or talk to or think you want to become friends with. All of a sudden you become friends and you become, just comrades trying to finish the same goal, right? Either helping somebody finish a marathon or you finishing a marathon. So I do love that. Just again, the humanity aspect of running distances. As far as how I got into it, again, so I never ran a whole lot back in New York. Just, maybe most of it was like 1 or 2 mile runs just to get some cardio in. And and that was just guessing. I mean, there were no GPS watches back then. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, you just
there was no
you right.
Strava.
Okay, down here
Right.
is Mox. I drove there.
You drove there, right? You know, or you'd look up the park. Like I live near Casino Park in Flushing, Queens, and I would see how I looked up the park to see how far around the little pond was that they had. Right, I say a little, but it was pretty decent. And I was like, okay, if I run this many times around there, it's this many miles, and then back home. So you kind of figured out, you guesstimated. There's no Strava or Run Go or Garmin, to really track your run that way. And so again, I did 1 to 2 miles just to stay loose and stay fit, I'll say, for the lack of a better term. But like I said, I always wanted to run New York City. It is such an event in New York City. Like to be in New York City on marathon week, the news stories, the build up to it, the morning of, it's just such an exciting, and seeing these people with all these awesome stories that are on TV. I'm like, man, I want to do that.
So is that your motivation?
It was it was no, because it kind of waned as I got old. I'm like, whatever. I'll do it eventually, right? How hard can it be? And then I left New York and I came to Texas. I just needed to change a venue as far as my living arrangements. I needed some space back in 2012 when I moved to Texas. And so I came down to Texas, and, I ended up having my son in middle of 2013. And that was kind of like I don't want to say it was a wake up call, but I was like, damn, I'm getting older and I'm getting fat. And I'm like, I need to get back into some sort of fighting shape. My daughter was 15, right? Like,
was thinking, wow, Miles was born in 2013. My son graduated from high school in 2013.
Jay graduated the next year. She graduated in 2014. And so again, it was one of those situations where I'm like, shit, like I'm getting fucking fat. Like Jade was making me breakfast in the morning. It was like roles were reversed, And so I was like, I need to get in some sort of fighting shape. And I had told you this, I didn't want to be the fat guy on the sidelines, out of breath and sweating just because I'm existing. Right. I wanted to be the fat guy on the sidelines, out of breath and sweating because I'm running up and down the soccer pitch or the football field with my son, working with him. And that's why I'm out of breath and sweating, not because I walked from the car to where my chair was and I'm dying now. Mm-hmm. And so I actually I did a Tough Mudder. And now a lot of people don't like mud runs because, especially you ladies, like, I don't want to get dirty. Me, I'm all about it.
Done mud runs. I just won't do Tough Mudder. I've done a 5K and maybe a 6 mile mud run, but I won't do a tough.
They have mini mudders now. I think they're starting to cater to you in your shorter distances.
Because those hard though. Tough Mudder is something else.
They are hard. Those obstacle course races are definitely challenging. And so I trained to do that. One of my friends from New York came in, and you'd love her, but you'd also hate her. My friend Adina, because she's one of those people who's kissed by God, right? Like her way of training for a half marathon is. Well, the reason why I say is like we train, even though halves are fun runs right now, we still go out and we do miles and stay in shape, right? So for her, training for a half marathon, if the race is on Sunday, I think on like Wednesday she'll get on a treadmill and run 6 miles, and then she'll just shuffle her way and do like a 2:20 half. You know what I mean? So, but that's how it's been since high school. She's just one of those very like physically gifted people.
No, that makes
like I'm training my ass off to do the same result. We're getting the same results, but it's easier for her, right? So good, and I love her to death, but good for her. So she came in and I did the Tough Mudder. Now at the time, and this is also how I kind of segued into DRC, believe it or not. So at the time, I was going to Lifetime Fitness because I was doing my strength training for the obstacle courses, and I was like, damn, I really need to get some road work in because I was doing all my cardio on a treadmill and an elliptical, right? And you're outside in the country. I mean, that Tough Mudder was like, I believe it was like 10.8 miles or something like that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And so that would have been the furthest I've ever run in my life. Again, I've done 5 miles less than a handful of times up until this point. And so Lifetime Fitness had a run club in which they went outside and they had like a 5K course mapped out around the club, around the gym. And that's where I actually met Jose and Althea and my friend Julie. That's how I started it. Jose, the godfather of run over there. He, my thing was to keep up with him because he's faster than I am. I was like, damn, this guy's, and he's older than me, right? I was like, damn, this guy's smoking me right now. But that was my whole thing, was to keep up with Jose during the 5K. And then Jose, Althea, and Julie and I were the ones that showed up every Tuesday. Like other people sprinkled in, but we were there every Tuesday to do that 5K run. And so Jose, like a drug dealer, he's like, "Oh, you ever heard of the Dallas Running Club?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm from New York. I haven't even been here a year. You know what I mean?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, you should run with them. They have all kinds of paces." And I was like, "I don't know what this guy's pushing. I'm not doing it." Right. But I kept running with Jose and Julie and Althea, and we became friends. And so Julie and Althea had joined DRC. And then Jose said to me, it was a week before my run. And Jose's like, "How long is your run?" I'm like, "It's just about 11 miles. He's like, "Okay, so here's what we're going to do." He's like, DRC is doing their Loop the Lake run. And he said at White Rock Lake, it's awesome. Now, I hadn't been to White Rock yet, just to let you know. He's like, they loop the lake. It's like 9.3 miles. It's like a 15K. And he goes, "What we'll do is we'll do a mile. We'll go out a mile and then we'll come back a mile and then we'll start the race." And I'm like, "Okay." Because at that point, I got myself up to like 7 or 8 miles with them. And so we did that. And that was also my first experience of being like in a corral, like starting. And it was a club race, so it wasn't ridiculous, right? But there were several hundred people there. Running was so much popular back in 2013. I mean, DRC races were a lot bigger. And so there were still several hundred people. It had to be like 400 or 500 people there to loop that lake. And I was like, "Wow, this is pretty neat." Like, never been in a corral before. Now, again, I renegated that race. I wasn't a member of the club. I wasn't being timing chipped. I was just running with the kids that were running. And I did that, and I was definitely cramping up near the end, but I finished, and that was the first time I did 11 miles. I felt real good about going into Tough Mudder. My race was the next week. Had a blast. Loved it. I was like a kid. I loved getting muddy and dirty and jumping into ice baths. Oh, that's a lie. I didn't like the ice bath one, actually. But I did what I had to do. But I didn't mind jumping off of platforms in deep water. Like, I was just had a blast of a time, but I was also tired. It's the first time I did like a 10.8 mile race. I was sore from, you get nicked up, you're getting scrapes and cuts, and Jose was like, "How'd you like it?" And I'm like, "Oh, it was awesome." He's like, "You should run the half with us next weekend." And to me at the time, that was just unheard of. I'm like, run a half? I just did 10.8 miles and 28 obstacles. Like, I'm exhausted, right? And he's like, "Oh, Julie is nervous about being by herself, and you can run slower with her." And I'm like, "I don't know, man. I'm pretty banged up. I wasn't injured or I was really hurt. I was just sore, And for me to run 13 miles after I just did that just seemed like ridiculous, right? So finally by Wednesday, he didn't stop. He kept asking me every day, right? So finally by Wednesday, I was like, "You know what? I'm going to run." I love Julie. Julie's awesome. She helped me get my road miles in. I'm going to run with her. And I was a little bit faster than Julie, so I can kind of dial it back and just have a nice, easy run. And that shit was awesome. It was a good time. Like, I had a good time. It was a perfect day, perfect weather, perfect temperature, awesome crowd. And I felt fantastic when I was done running it. And I remember coming in, because again, I also renegated that race. I did not pay for the registration. I didn't get a bib. I did not take their water. That's a lie. I did take their water stops. I did have some of their water stops. But I brought water with me. So I was trying not to be a complete freeloader. And I remember coming into the finish line and crossing the timing strips, and the girl's going to give me a medal. And I'm like, no. I go, "I didn't pay. I just ran with my friend." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And she was very grateful I did not take the medal. And so it was awesome. It was a good time. And then I was like, "Man, I can do this 2 times in a row." Right? That was foolish thinking, because it's definitely a lot harder. But then that was really the impetus to get me to do the full the following year for Dallas. And Jose's like, "We're going to do the full." I'm like, "Okay." And so I trained with DRC the whole next year. And I did the full, and everything that could have went wrong the day I ran my full. First off, and that was actually, believe it or not, speaking of Lisa and Sheldon earlier in this episode, that was Sheldon's first full too. So the 2014,
Oh, wow.
we did not know each other, right?
Yeah.
But we were joking about it because we talked about it. So the 2014 Dallas Marathon was my first full marathon, but it was also Sheldon's first full marathon. He definitely finished a lot faster than I did. But he'll tell you, it rained the entire time. Like, it just rained, right? And so back then I had an iPod, and I had wired headphones and everything. And now I will tell people this, I'm a very musically inclined runner. I need to have music when I run. I make playlists, just kind of where I am emotionally at the time. I make songs and put them. Well, I don't make songs. I put songs on the playlist, and I do all that jazz. and I it died on me. It fucking thing died on me at like I want to say it was mile 15. I was because at that time, so they changed the course for the Dallas Marathon. At that time, you didn't loop the lake. You got onto the lake, but you stayed on that West Lawther TP hillside of
Okay.
the lake, and so you went towards like where you're going towards the ale house towards the
Mm-hmm.
Santa Fe Trail. So that's where that went, and thankfully it took the Santa Fe Trail off because you think the course is bad now. There's nobody on the Santa Fe Trail, like, and that shit's around mile 20. And I was just like, I remember running on the Santa Fe Trail. I'm like, God, just so I want a coyote to come out and kill me. Like, I was like, fuck this, it's stupid. There's nobody there. They just had speakers playing music. There was one water stop, and that was the only humanity, unless there was somebody who happened to be biking or running on the trail at the time. But so I mean, that's when I learned that you can download your music onto your cell phone. And that's what I was doing. I was putting all the music back onto my cell phone while I just said, fuck this, I'm going to walk. And I just put my entire playlist onto my cell phone, and I got my music back. And I really needed that. And also, I said to this a little bit earlier in this conversation, where you really find out the humanity of people. So this young lady who I've never met in my life, her name was Sarah. And she was running. I was on White Rock. It's raining. I'm like a wet dog. I'm sad. I'm trying to put my music back on my phone, and she stops running as she comes right next to me. Like, she is running, and then she just stops and starts walking, and she's literally walking side by side, almost shoulder to shoulder next to me. And I'm a skeptical New Yorker. I'm like side eyeing her. I'm like, why is this girl? And she's staring at me. She's just like looking at me, and I'm like, why is this girl staring at me? Right? And I kind of look over and I go back to putting my music on my phone. I kind of look over again, and she's smiling at me, and I'm putting the music back on my phone. And I smile over for a third time, and she's like, why do we do this to ourselves? And I remember saying to her, fuck if I know. That's exactly what I said to her. And she laughed. And that girl stayed with me for 2 miles. Like, walking, let me put my music back on, let me, because I was nervous. I was getting tired. My legs were starting to hurt. I was only at mile 16. I still had 10.2 miles to go. So now I'm like, I was starting to get frazzled mentally. And this girl kind of like reined me in and kept me calm. And then I remember, again, about 2 miles in, maybe a little bit more, I look at her, I'm like, man, you look fresh. Like, you can go. She's like, oh, I'm totally great. I'm like, oh my God, just please, thank you so much for, you did not pencil in time to spend time with me during your finish time today. She's like, I'm like, just go ahead. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, oh, please. I go, I'll be right behind you. And so she started running, and maybe about 30 or 40 seconds after that, I started running again behind her. And I kept up with her for several miles, but behind her. But I needed it. And then finally I lost her just before we're getting into that deep Ellen part of the run. And I want to say it was around mile 24 ish. I'm crossing this. It's pouring outside. It is just pouring outside. And she was short. I mean, I want to say she was like 5 foot, nothing. And she was just stopping traffic. She was like a police officer stopping traffic. And I was so tired. I was so exhausted. And and she's like, come on, baby, you got this. And this police officer is jumping up and down, waving me across, stopping all the cars. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. She's like, you're close. I'm like, where am I? She's like, I don't know, but I'm sure it's close. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I needed that. Like, I needed that little like push, and God bless her. Cause again, I'm nobody. This girl's sitting outside in the rain. I understand she's getting paid for it, right? But she's sitting outside in the rain, and she had more energy than I did, cheering me on. And I was like, thank God. And then I finished it. And I did get I did not cry. I did not cry when I finished my first marathon, but I did get choked up, because for me, there was a lot of emotional like release having done that. This was probably one of the hardest things I've done physically in my life. You know, I don't look very athletic. Even in my prime, I look like a very average person, right? And so I remember I remember seeing like the mile 25 mile marker, and my playlist was constructed to remind me of people and things that were important to me. And my pace leader at the time, Rick, had told me, you should make the last mile for you, right? The last, no, that's Grady.
No, Mimi's husband.
No, that's Kevin. Kevin is Mimi's husband.
Oh, okay.
Rick actually went AWOL. Like, he became like a Unabomber, just disappeared from DRC completely. I kid. Rick didn't become a Unabomber, but he definitely did vanish. He definitely did vanish from DRC. after a few years after that. But that's what he said to me. He's like, make these miles about something important to motivate you to keep going, right? And so I remember getting to that mile 25 mile marker, and I I I had the music set up for me, and here's Miles, everybody. This is my son. He's always, him and his sister are always my mile 24. If anybody needs to know, my mile 24 are my son and my daughter. And I have music that reminds me of my son and my daughter during that mile. So getting into that last one, the music was reminding me, and it was really just a cathartic release. People didn't think I could do it. They're like, "Oh my God, you're going to run a marathon," because I don't look like somebody who would run a marathon. And again, like, I think just having moved from New York, coming to Texas, I had a rough couple of years before that personally, and life's never easy for anybody. But like all that stuff just kind of played out emotionally, and I just felt good about myself, right? And so now I'm getting to the final stretch, like the last 200 yards. And in 2014, the Dallas Marathon you kind of went up a little bit of an incline, but then you kind of went down a hill into the finish line, and it's pouring outside. And I'm running down this hill, and I had put my arms out, and Jade is taking photos of me. Jade is there, and she's probably 100 yards away from me, but she's probably like 100 yards from the finish line. And so I remember her taking, and I have the photo of me running with my arms out, right, that she took of me. And then I grab her hand, and if you see the finish line photo, Jade was not prepared to be running at all. She is wearing jeans, a fleece jacket, riding boots, and she's holding a digital SLR. She's not ready, right? And I just grab her. And so my finished photo of the Dallas Marathon in 2014, and it kind of became a thing since then, is me finishing with my daughter. Miles was just about a year old at the time. He was not prepared to be out in that weather, so he stayed at home with my sister and my brother-in-law. And Miles has since finished many races with me since then, but that's kind of how it did. So it definitely was a very cathartic and emotional release for me. Like, I needed to do this. I needed to prove I could do something difficult. And I really feel like since then, I've really learned a lot about myself and how strong I can be in tough situations. And that's why it's a big deal for me. And with that, I've also been very blessed and just very fortunate to meet a lot of amazing people along the way, present company included, but just our overall run group, Pam, Erlyn, Carol, Mel, and even our side cast of characters. You have Kelly and Brenda and Ugana and Lisa. Well, Lisa's not one of our side characters. She's one of our main characters, right? But like I got to meet all these cool, just real salt of the earth people, who remind you, because here's the other thing, you will learn that the world will beat you down, right? Your quote unquote friends, your quote unquote coworkers, and even sometimes your relationships, they will beat you down. And like, I have people who will always cheer me on. You know what I mean? And so like, I've been very fortunate in this whole running situation, and that's why I live by it. My son has been, kind of intertwined into it, and he's run with us a bunch of times, and you guys are just amazing to him and love on him. And so I mean, and he likes to run, so that makes me happy, although he runs faster than I do, so God bless little kid. Yeah, so that's kind of how I got into the whole running thing and why I've kind of continued doing it. And much like you, I will not run marathons forever. I'm getting older, and I'm not recovering as fast as I used to, and my feet always hurt. You know what I mean? But I will always be a runner, even if it's just me doing eventually 5Ks, right? Just because, I look at people in the corrals and see that nervous energy, and I see like friends talking to friends, and, I'm like, man, that's me and my people, or that's me when I ran. And it's just a good feeling to have that, but yeah, so I know I asked you earlier if you had any kind of like run routines or superstitions. So one of mine is, again, I make music. I not make music, but I make playlists very specifically for every run. So like when we did Miami, I had a Miami playlist, and it varies, right? Like in Miami, I had some Latin flavor in the playlist, right? Along with some other songs that I can relate to. But since I was in Miami, I wanted to have some like that Latin flavor in my playlist. I made a playlist for the Cowtown. I made a playlist, everything. Every time I do a new race, I make a playlist for it. And some of the songs are always the same, right? Like I always start my runs, my long runs, and finish my long runs to the same two songs, right? So I start all of my races, and Hans Zimmer was the composer. It was to the Henry Cavill Man of Steel, and it's called This Is Clark Kent. So I start all my runs to that, and I finish every run to Summon the Heroes by John Williams. And it's one of the songs that is always played in the Olympics. So anytime you listen to the Olympics, I promise you, you hear pieces of Summon the Heroes. And so that's one of my routines that I do. I have running colors, so I'll always in some way have some form of red and black on me when I run a race. That's something that I do all the time too. But outside of that, I don't think I have any other kind of real routines or superstitions. I kind of wing it from there.
Yeah, I'll make a playlist only for marathons, but not like just every run because that's a lot for me. But
Not for training runs and not for like 5Ks and 10Ks. Half marathons I will, and marathons I will.
Yeah. Oh, like I do have like a training playlist that can sometimes eventually turn into a marathon, my marathon music. But yeah, I usually have different marathon music. But I mean, like you said, some songs remain on there all the time.
On that rotation, yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I actually, from Louis Armstrong, It's a Wonderful Life. That's one of the ones that stays on my playlist because it really reminds me of like you guys, believe it or not.
Oh,
like that's almost like my group run song for you guys because like, I remember you were saying like when you were talking about when you first started running, you'd run with your friend, you guys would be able to talk and stuff. I mean, man, how many hours do we spend together with all these conversations? You know what I mean? That we talk about and we do all these things together. And it's awesome. Like it's good to have that outlet and that group of people who you can talk to and feel free to say things. And sometimes I say some pretty ridiculous shit and nobody has left yet. So I love you guys that much more for it.
Yeah.
But
no, it's we all, that's the thing where you find out about people, you meet people that like, okay, so when I first met you, I can't remember, were you my pace leader or? Yeah,
so,
maybe you were.
well, the first time you remember meeting me was I was your pace leader. The first time I met you, you were a pace leader. It was the year before.
Okay. So yeah, okay. That's when I met you I feel like is when you were a pace leader. And I just remember running like, and I didn't know you like that and I was like, God, all these people just love this guy. They just love this guy, And you just think of like, am I gonna love him like that too, or because you just never, you never know how you get along with people or whatever, and it's like so funny because I just remember like, I wonder if I'll like him, like they all like him.
That's a very interesting perspective because I never really think of people looking at me that way, right? Although everybody says that, and I'm very flattered. I'm very flattered that people think highly of me, or at least kindly of me, I should say. But because here's the thing, I'm so, I mean, at least I think so. I'm not very, in the words of Walt Whitman and Ted Lasso, I like to be curious and not judgmental. And so I'm always willing to like talk to somebody and just like find out about them. And, now you're one of those rare people that didn't run for some real emotional reason, but you'll be surprised how many people have run marathons for getting out of bad relationships or again, trying to prove something or just there's these awesome reasons why. Now, yes, there are people such as you who did it just as a stress relief and nothing significant. Right. But you get those cool stories, man, where people really are running for like a good reason, like a deep reason. And I was like, good for you guys. Do that. Whatever motivates you. That's what I say.
I also think like with this running, what is helping with, because sometimes discipline is hard for me. And this makes me have to be somewhat disciplined, which I've learned, like, right. I could ignore it really easy, but I just learned how much easier it is if I be more disciplined, how much easier it makes my running. And so, I drink less. I watch more what I eat when I'm training now, especially like the night before, days, before a race.
Definitely,
and all that
yes.
stuff. Water intake. And now even though I know like strength training is very important, and I didn't do it for many, many years, now I'm finally like, all right, we got to do that more to just help prevent injury and all this stuff. So that part I do love. Oh, and waking up early.
I don't know if you like that part.
But I do it. That's the
You
thing.
do. You do.
Do it. And so, I mean, otherwise I wouldn't like, so yeah, that part, the discipline it brings into my life that I wish came a little more naturally to me, or I don't fight. I feel like I fight it, right? That's what I do. I feel like I fight it. I'm embracing it more and realizing how fruitful discipline is in my life.
It
Discipline
is
makes me
needed.
fruitful. That's what it is.
Listen, I'm not saying spontaneity is a bad thing, but it's good to be a little more regimented and kind of know what you're doing and what you need to do. And so I appreciate that. I try to be very regimented, although, and yes, strength training. While I did avoid that a lot very early on, because I figured I just need to run. Like I'm strong already. It's different. You need do not skip the strength days, people. If I can give you a tip, that's one of those. You know, I've also over the last year I've tried to be more consistent in getting strength days in. Although I miss lifting weights. Like I used to do it all the time before I became like a runner. I used to just go to the gym, right? And I would do like a couple miles on the treadmill and be done with it. But I do miss like lifting weights. But now I'm just like, oh, that seems so hard. Like to bench 285 now? I don't know. I don't know if I could do that anymore.
I don't want to do that.
Exactly. So it is important, but you know, I'm glad, and I am glad that I tricked you into not thinking I'm a complete jerk. So yay. I try not to be.
Through running, I haven't met anyone like I don't like. I've met people who I really like, but I haven't met one who I don't like, which I love.
It is nice. A lot of like-minded people, and again, it gives you the opportunity to meet different people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's across the spectrum, different cultures, different people, different places in the United States, different places in the world. And it's also taken us all over the place. I mean, we've traveled quite a bit, especially over the last 2 years or so in running. So that's always been fun, just to go to different places. And some places are really awesome, Miami, and some places are just kind of okay. BCS. Right. So, but it was a good, listen, run BC. If you live in Texas and you want to do a fun local run, that is a very local run. And it's pretty well run. They give good beer at the end. And it's a downhill finish. It is a hard downhill finish. You get to go fast, like Lightning McQueen.
Is fun, and the jacket is very nice to have.
Yes.
There are a huge selection of beers that they give you, and pizza and burritos, all right there. Yeah.
It's a December race, so it could be cold. It was cold when we went. It was a little chilly.
It was too cold. That's why there was no pizza or anything. It was just like, let's put that jacket on. And
one of the funny things are, so me and Pam were together when we were going through A&M.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting hot. I'm like, it's getting a little hot. And I was wearing gloves. And so I remember once we got out of A&M, there was a water stop coming up. I saw it. I'm like, I'm going to take these gloves off. And I regretted throwing those gloves away.
You threw them away? No, I don't.
I did, because they were throwaways. They were like $1.50 gloves from Walmart. Right?
I get it, but like no matter what,
I regretted it. Like about 3 minutes after I passed that water stop, I was like, I'm cold again. I'm like, man, I'm cold.
Because we were running, and then you're like you're like, oh, I'm getting warm or whatever, or their wind is being blocked, and then you're like unzip or whatever, and then you turn a corner, or 400 meters later, here comes again, and then I'm bundled up again. So yeah, I stayed bundled that whole time. It was I don't like running in freezing cold weather.
I agree. So let me ask you this. I know that we're going to continue doing this podcast, and it's fun. Mm-hmm. I always enjoy talking to you, so it's always a good time to just put it on a recording, right? So what are some other things that you are passionate or near or dear to your heart that we will eventually segue into at some point in the future on our podcast? If you don't have any ideas off the cuff, I can start.
You start.
Okay. One thing I will always, you guys will hear me talk about my family all the time. I love my son and my daughter. I'm a family person, so I will probably mention them a lot because I do a lot of things with my kids. From a personal standpoint, I am a big proponent of people who've survived cancer. I don't want to say I'm a cancer survivor. I had prostate cancer back in, but I wasn't going to die. I was never going to die, right? I know. But like, there are people out there who've gone through it. and they've like through the grace of God and all that good stuff, they've powered through and survived cancer. Now, yes, am I a cancer survivor? I do not have cancer. I did have cancer. I do not have cancer any longer. So I always have a lot of love for those people and everything they go through. Touching on that very quickly. So again, I'm a big Major League Baseball fan, right? Tim Wakefield was a pitcher for the Boston Red Sox. He passed away, unfortunately, last year. I believe it was in October. He had cancer and he died. He was young. I mean, he was not an older person. Sadly, though, when he had cancer and he passed away, his wife was also diagnosed with cancer, and unfortunately, she just passed away.
I read a headline about that, but I didn't know who they were or anything. That they died very close together, right?
They did, and that is crushing for the family. Like those kids, because they had children that were younger. I mean, they're not like adults, and that's tough. And so my thoughts and prayers go out to the Wakefield family. Obviously, they'll never hear this because I'm not important, but be that as it may, it does go out to those young kids, and anybody who's ever had this happen to them in their family. That's a tough thing, and just stay strong. There are people out there that care about you, and there's resources if you need it. I know it's hard in the moment, but always know that there's something out there that you can get help with. So cancer is a thing for me. Also mental health. I'm a huge advocate of people who go through mental health issues. I mean, running, I think, is a great reliever of mental health. I think, people with mental health problems should run. Not that it's the cure all, but I mean, it does. My wife, who suffered from mental health issues, she ran a couple of half marathons and she felt great. Although I do think she was manic when she ran the second one. But the first one she trained for really hard and she felt very accomplished and she felt great about it. And there was a lot of like relief there for her when she did it. So, I do have a soft spot in my heart for mental health and causes for people with mental health. And so those are things that we can touch on. If you ever have any questions or stories that you want to talk about that, like I said, we do have the email address, let's see where this goes from here @gmail.com, or you can leave comments in the comment section below. But we can talk about that as well. It's not always about running, although running is a big part of our lives. And obviously you can hear how passionate we are about it. My son loves to run. We've done from serious majors like New York, Berlin, Tokyo to color runs and hot chocolate runs and everything in between, right? So, we have a lot of love for running. It's done a lot of good for us, and neither one of us are quitting anytime soon. But, like I said, we work 9 to 5 jobs and we go out. We're doing a rage room in a week.
Yes, that we'll have to talk about that.
We will definitely have to talk about that because I don't know much about it besides I'm going to break some shit, but
I'm looking forward to it.
And we do travel, not just for running. Like I said, I'm going to San Francisco next week with my son and my daughter for a trip, and that's going to be fun. And what else am I doing? Well, you're going to Fargo. I'm only traveling at this point this year. As of right now, I have no races.
Yeah. So, but I feel like my travel isn't like, it's not real travel because because
it's race travel.
It's race travel. So, and then plus like MCM, I've done it before, and that I'm doing that with my son. So that'll be cool. We're not running together though. We're just going to be doing the same race together. So
it's still pretty neat.
Yeah.
I may, if I do not do MCM, if I don't get into New York and I don't do MCM, I'm leaning very heavily into doing the half marathon for Dallas in December with Miles, because again, they have that like super slow speed, like walking half marathon, and him and I will do faster than the walk pace, but it'll be his first marathon. So he's never run that far. So there will be some training over the summer if that happens. Definitely during the fall. And that's something I may do with him just because, and the same thing, like truth be told, if Miles trains right, he'll smoke me in a half marathon. You know what I mean? So we may not be running together either, but it's the idea of you guys doing the race together for the first time.
I just was floored when he said he wanted to do it, and then he wanted me to do it too. I was just like,
he loves his mama.
He does love his mom, and I love him. But I was just surprised by it because he's done a half marathon before, and he's ran in the military, so that surprised me. So that is what I'm doing with him. But also for Fargo, though, what I'm really excited about is my niece is going to be running the half marathon. So And the thing is, she does track and cross country, and she went to state and cross country. So, like, she's not going to stay with me either.
She's gonna be
But,
good.
but I'm really excited to run with her. Finally convinced her to do it because she was a little shy about it. Like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, yes, you can. You've done 10Ks. You can do a half. And I'm like, and she's like, well, I don't know if I want to run it alone. I'm like, well, either way, you won't be running it alone because if, I can run it with you, right? I'm never going to leave you. So I am super looking forward to that one. That'll be a lot of fun. But as far as like travel, so the things you said, I asked, like, what do I like outside of running? I love travel. I love going to different places. I love meeting new people, the culture. This world is huge and this world has a lot to offer more than just where you are in your little tiny place. And so I do love that about travel, and I love food about travel. I love the different foods that are there. I'm very open to try almost any kinds of food and
We ate a
wine.
lot in Miami. We ate a lot in Miami.
You thought so?
There was not. I mean, were we gorging ourselves? No, but there was never a situation where food was present. We were like, nah, I'm not taking that. We were like, yeah, I'll take some.
We only ate like twice a day.
No, we didn't. I had 3 square meals a day. The only day we didn't eat 3 times. Well, no, the only 2 days that we didn't eat 3 times a day was the day of the boat trip. We didn't eat breakfast that day.
Right. We brought our lunch and stuff
onto the boat. Right. And then we had a big dinner.
And then we had dinner.
And then the day of the race, we did not have 3 meals a day. Other than that.
No, we didn't have 3 meals because even we got there the one
got there Thursday. But I ate breakfast before I got there. You may not have, but I definitely did.
I'm not counting that. I'm talking about we ate at Bacon Bitch or whatever for breakfast. I think the morning of the next day that we were there.
Yeah.
And then, like,
you know what it was? I bought bagels from Whole Foods, and I had bagels. I was eating bagels.
Okay.
I definitely ate 3 meals a day because I'm fat.
No, I didn't. I guess I didn't eat 3 meals a day, but whatever. I didn't feel like we ate too much or anything. The walking food tour, that was a lot of food. I mean, even though there were bites.
It was all bites. Well, the Cuban sandwich was a whole sandwich, but
that was, everything was so good though. And then we had the guava pastries. So that was filling because
I mean, we were throwing shit away at the end. We were trying to clean out the fridge.
Oh yeah, we had so much food in that place. You're right, we did. I don't know what we were.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying.
But, yes, unfortunately, food got wasted. Unfortunately, but I didn't think I felt any like too much. I mean, as far as for racing and stuff. So,
no.
Yeah, but I do want to. I don't know. I hope to go somewhere fun, at least for a vacation or something. This year that is not DC or New York or Fargo, but we shall see.
New York will be a vacation for you because you're not running. You're gonna have a good time. Do whatever you want.
I want to go. I want to just go somewhere, relax, and not. No, that's not my vacation. That's fun. It's fun. It's gonna be fun, but like it's not like a vacation. Like I feel like, I just want a vacation.
Yeah, I kind of need one of those. Although San Francisco is going to be kind of a vacation. I'm not. So my trip to San Francisco now, I've never been there, and I've never gone to any of these places. So we're going to Muir Woods, which is one of the last coastal redwood forests in the world. So we're going to go there one day. We're doing a bus tour of San Francisco, and we'll have lunch in Sausalito, and we're going to see Alcatraz. And then at some point, obviously, we're going to go to the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, again, I've never been to any of those places, so I'll report back on how I feel about all of them. But that's kind of it's not too crazy of a trip. You know what I mean?
Sounds like it. It sounds like a lot.
Most of that stuff's getting done in one day. Like, honestly, because the bus tour through San Francisco will take us to Muir Woods at some point, and then we'll be there for about 3 hours. And we'll have lunch in Sausalito, which I guess is in between San Francisco and Muir Woods. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm like, Sausalito?
Because it's part of the tour. And then Alcatraz is the last part of it. So it's a long day.
Oh, okay.
And then Tuesday we'll probably go to Golden Gate Bridge, and there's some dim sum place there, some dim sum restaurant.
Maybe like there's
I know, but there's like some really popular one that Jade wants to go to.
Okay.
So we'll probably do that on Tuesday also. we do got to do some personal stuff one of those nights that we're there, and we'll do that as well. But other than that, it shouldn't be too crazy. I mean, I think Monday will be like a lot. Sunday we're gonna get there in the afternoon, so Sunday is gonna be a super chill day also. And then Monday is gonna be like the real busy day, and then Tuesday is kind of like a chill day, and then we leave like Wednesday. But I mean, I think my flight's like at noon, so I'm not even like racing out of the hotel. So it shouldn't be too bad. And then yeah, like I said, it shouldn't be. I think I'm more excited about Miles' spring fling than he is.
I'm a little disturbed that, first of all, I don't even believe that each parent comes from each family, because that's like impossible.
It's part of the thing, man. I wish I had.
You can have it, and you can say it, but trust and believe, not every freaking family member goes for each. And I think that is a disservice to let these kids not just to have some freaking fun with being so dang chaperone.
Not me. I don't. Listen, Miles goes and does his own thing. I mean, I'm there to make sure that the place doesn't burn down with him in it. But for the most part, I leave him. And, you know, some of the parents of his friends are the same way. If anything, the parents kind of hang out in the corner. No one's drinking whiskey. It's not like TV where we're all like drinking from one flask.
I understand that, but I just don't understand the point of having a parent there for every freaking kid. I
think they want to, because here's the problem. I think in the past that was not always the rule. And listen, I do volunteer around the school from time to time for things. I do not volunteer for these things because those parents do not come and get their kids on time. And then it's like 11 o'clock at night, you're still waiting for this parent to show up. And I think they want the parents there so that when they put the lights on, everybody's got to go, because remember, it's the spring break for the teachers also. They want to get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, so. I would be upset. I was like, hell no, I ain't going. I'll drop you off.
Yeah.
I'm staying.
Bye.
I hate to do that.
I'll be like, hey, just text me when Jimmy's ready to leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but
just so.
Some parents do that though. They drop their kids off, and then, even there's a set time. It happens in I've seen it. It's happened to me. It's happened to other people. Also, so I know that things that we talk about, like I'll talk about anything. Like I like to read the internet. Like I basically go and read all these news articles, and some of them are ridiculous and some of them aren't. So one of my favorite ones from this week, we're always trying to figure out climate change and how to like make it better. And so scientists have figured out a way. It's not going to resolve climate change as far as like the ozone goes and stuff. Mm-hmm. But one of the things they can do is they want to dry out the atmosphere, like on purpose. Because I guess they say that the water in the atmosphere helps contribute to greenhouse gases and things like that. So they want to, I think what the phrase is, the idea is to dehydrate the stratosphere. And it would slow down climate change, not stop it, but it would make it slower. And they're trying to figure out how to, I guess it's called geoengineering. So I guess they're trying to geoengineer some kind of machination to put up into the sky to dry out the stratosphere.
Yeah, I feel if they did that, there's going to be some type of bad effect. Anyway, you're going to mess up something.
Like we didn't think this through. It's really what.
And then we're going to have nosebleeds and stuff because there's not enough moisture in the air.
I know. What does that do towards like rain and irrigation and things like that? There's always, but it's
because more drought. Like what? No, we can't. You're messing with Mother Nature already. You're messing. Like you can't mess with her like that.
And then speaking of Mother Nature, so I guess. Where is it here? So there were 2 humpback whales were photographed having sex for the first time in their species history. Okay. We managed to get photo evidence of 2 humpback whales getting it on for the first time in the history of humpback whales, as per this article with People magazine. And both partners happen to be dudes. The first time we catch 2 whales fucking, it's 2 dudes. But then the story goes on to make it seem weird, right? Because they say like one whale was healthier than the other one. Like one whale seemed injured. And so I was like, I'm trying to understand, was he helping the whale or was he really like trying to get his swerve on with the whale? Like, I feel like there's more to it. But that being said, the first time supposedly 2 humpback whales were photographed having sex for the first time in their species history, and both partners happened to be male. The British news agency SWNS Media Group shared the news of the surprising encounter, which first was reported in a new study by a researcher at the Pacific Whale Foundation on Tuesday. Now, National Geographic, Live Science, and The Guardian also reported the studies. So it makes me feel like there's validity because I love National Geographic.
I'm not saying it's not valid. It's just, because that's similar to something, I mean, not exactly, but like in some sea aquarium that they had, which I think are awful, that the one dolphin or something was fucking his brother or some shit
Well,
because they were,
supposedly crustaceans like dolphins and whales and things along those lines, they're about that.
no, that's
Supposedly.
what I'm saying.
That's
I'm saying is that they were doing that, and the one basically was raping the one where it was so injured.
oh my gosh.
And
That's
I don't know if they do that. Okay, they do that. I didn't know that, but like
pretty aggressive.
when you put it in like a freaking big glass tank, like
It's like prison. Everybody
yeah,
gets a little lonely. And from
oh,
my understanding, dolphins are the only mammals that, do it for pleasure besides us,
hmm.
and monkeys, obviously. But yeah, supposedly, like, dolphins also have sex for pleasure, like humans. So you're telling me there was 2 dudes in a pen, a la, Rikers Island or something. We've all watched Oz. We know how it works.
As,
That was such a good show. Such a good show. Are you watching any good shows right now?
no, because I've been busy with all my stuff in this apartment. So no, I haven't. I'm way behind on Love is Blind, which I love watching Love is Blind, and so I know there's a lot out there. Please, nobody spoil anything for me. So I'm behind on that. I'm behind on Below Deck. I love watching Below Deck because I think one day I'm going to be on this fabulous yacht as well. Uh, um, what else am I behind on? 90 Day Fiance. That's just guilty, wonderful pleasure watching craziness, and I love it. Thank you, 90 Day Fiance people. Keep trying to meet those people. I love it. So no, but I haven't. No, I have not. I haven't been watching anything, and I feel like I probably won't get to until like next week.
So I have watched the first episode of Love is Blind. I watched
Oh,
that.
you haven't watched it before?
I did. I watched the first season and then I never watched any of the seasons afterwards. But I watched this other season because there was a clip on TikTok and it was
Again,
this guy. I think, is
anything
it the
for
guy Matt? Have you watched any of that?
I watched like maybe 2 episodes.
Oh, so you've seen the first episode. And the guy Matt, the guy who was walking out on an interview, like the girls
Oh,
are talking,
yeah. I
or
said no.
Mike. Yeah, so that guy won me over because they showed him on like TikTok. I'm like, I got to see this guy to be such a dick to people. And so I was like, oh my God, he's just like, this girl's still talking. He's just walking out of the room. So I did watch that first episode, but then, and also I needed a break because I'm going to be honest. I know. I somehow got suckered into this Dance Moms.
Not somehow. You willingly went.
No, I didn't because it was on Disney Plus.
You
Right?
didn't have to watch it.
And it was, and on top of that, it's like when you go in, it's one of the main icons. I'm like, what the fuck is this show? And I know my mom watched it, and I should know better because my mom does not have the best TV choices. Like she watches all the Little People, all the Housewives, like every single episode, every single show. Right? She's watched that Below Deck that you're talking about. She watches all this fucking The Bachelor, The Bachelorette. All I know, it's just such bad TV, right? But she watches it, and I'm like, let me see what this shit's about. And it's like a train wreck. You can't turn away from it. And I keep thinking to myself, I want it to be like Game of Thrones, where like the bad guy eventually just gets slaughtered. But the problem is this show is like back in 2015, right? And Abby Lee Miller is still alive. So she did not get red weddinged or anything else that happened like in Game of Thrones. But man, she is fucking mean. She's mean. And the funny part is,
going to, so I'll just have to take your word on it.
and then the best part about it is, so I love my son, and I'm going to be clear, Miles is a good kid, basically, but he is grounded right now for reasons that we will not discuss. But he is grounded right now, and he's not allowed to watch TV. right? But he also has to be wherever I am. So Miles is sitting in here listening to this podcast right now because he must be wherever I
Why
am.
does he have to be wherever you are?
Because you know why? Kids are not trustworthy. And if they're not being watched, they're getting into some kind of shenanigans, right? So the problem is if I'm watching the TV, he can't watch.
Mm-hmm.
So I make him turn around and not. So now the sad part is he's just fucking hearing these women screaming and cackling in the background, which is far worse than watching it. Like at least watching it, you see the ridiculousness happening, but he just gets to hear it. And it's just like a bunch of banshees just screaming. Right, my daughter, and don't say this. But damn, Abby Lee Miller is just mean. Those producers are messed up because they encourage it. Although I will tell you, if you've never seen the show, and I know some of this because again, the show is super old. So she eventually went to jail for like tax evasion and shit because she was making money and not reporting it and hide secret accounts and shit like that. So she served about 10 months in prison. So I guess she did get her comeuppance at some point, right? But like the producers pandered to her because she really did beat up these girls. Like it's emotional abuse. You know what I mean? Like the way she was to them and how she very clearly had favorites. And she would tell these girls she would just tell them they were awful at certain points. Right. And I understand like if you have a dance team, not everybody is the Michael Jordan on your team, right? You have that one player or that one kid, and then you have the rest of the team. And that's okay. But to so blatantly make these people feel like crappy about themselves, it was awful. But the producers pander to it because at the first few seasons, they had like an intro scene, and it was all the girl dancers with Abby Lee Miller and their moms, right? But as the seasons went on, some of these girls started quitting the show because it was just hostile. Mm-hmm. And so the producers stopped putting the girls up at all, right? And they always do like these. First off, it was like fucking 30 something episodes a season. Like they really put the work in. And they would do like a tell-all episode where like, you know, like the cast would all come in and sit on the couch and talk. And the producers were really kissing Abby's ass up until the time she was starting to get in legal trouble. All of a sudden then you started seeing like they started filming her in different light. Like she just came off like a monster. She was always eating food just hanging out of her mouth. They never showed shit like that earlier in the seasons, right? Because she was the darling, but now she's going to jail. So now like, fuck it, we're going to make her look awful. And even in the tell-all episode, like you could tell the executive producer, whatever Jeff, whatever his name is, he was always like, "Oh, Abby, the queen of the show," and all of a sudden he's being a little more strict and he's a little more willing to contradict her in the episodes. So these producers are also a bunch of pieces of shit because they let these girls get treated like crap because they pandered to her, and then as she started to get into legal trouble, you could see the shift in the production on how they were filming her and what kind of light they were showing her in. And I was like, man, you're a darling one minute and you're nothing the next. Just Hollywood as a whole. Fucking Hollywood, man.
It's something. But that, no. Okay, I hope I don't have to hear about dance moms again.
You will, because we're gonna run and I'm gonna tell you about all the dance moms.
I don't want to hear.
But that being said, we're getting close to wrapping up. So I guess we'll be back next week. I will let everybody know how my trip in San Francisco went and also how the Rage Room went. That's going to be fun. Oh, the Rage Room will be fun. Yeah. So you, Erlen, and I are going to go and do that.
We're going to break shit.
We're going to fuck shit up, and I'm not going to get in trouble for it. That's why I like doing Tough Mudders. I can get dirty, and my mom can't get mad at me. You know, I can go into this Rage Room and just fucking get nuts. The cops aren't coming for me afterwards. It's great. No consequences. No consequences.
I'm just going to go to freaking Arlington for it.
Well, it was either that or Fort Worth. Fort
Worth better than Arlington.
I guess. Next time I'll pick Fort Worth. I hate Fort Worth. I don't hate Fort Worth. I just don't like going there unless I'm running the countdown.
I feel like
about Arlington. Why couldn't they have it in Plano, damn it?
Well, they even in Dallas. What the heck?
Come on. I know. Stupid. But we will definitely talk about that. But other than that, anything you want to say before we sign off?
I'm tired.
It'll be easier now. You'll get this stuff wrapped up. I mean, the whole process of you thinking that you were going to move was stressing you out. So once you got that resolved, you'll get these boxes taken care of.
Yeah, I just yesterday I was on a roll, and then
just throw shit away.
And then wait, what?
Just throw shit away.
Oh no! I mean, I've done that. That's the thing. And I still have to take some whatever. It's just I'm tired.
What's that lady? The lady who like she tells you if it doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it.
Oh, I know. She's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it's like Asian gal on Netflix. Yeah.
Well, I've done that with a lot of my clothes and my shoes already. So that's not the problem. It's just bringing whatever. I don't even know. Anyway, it'll be done. It's going to be done because I
It's gonna be
have to
fun.
because I'm not going to be around the rest of the week to do anything with it. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that means you're gonna be at work all week, like outside of your house.
No, one day.
Okay.
But I have things I have to get due for that one day.
I find comfort knowing that I can FaceTime you during the day when you're at home.
Well, I'll be here. Oh, because I don't have to go to the office on Tuesday.
Also, Wednesday is your office day.
Yes. So Wednesday I will be, that's just gonna be a long day because it starts at 9 a.m. and then we have dinner that night and stuff. So it's just gonna be a long
Don't act
day.
like don't act like you're not gonna enjoy the free dinner. Is it pizza? It's not pizza.
It's not pizza, but
So there you go.
I'm just, you know how much I like to sleep.
You do.
I like to sleep. So
You gotta sleep tomorrow on Tuesday.
season because I'm not running really. So this is my season to sleep in and
I've been getting up earlier to go to the gym these last couple of weeks. I know. I gotta start doing that.
I do that at lunch.
I haven't run since the Cowtown, but I'm just healing. So I'm going to take probably one more. Well, that's not true. I got my baby back, by the way. So I'm very happy. I got my Garmin watch back. We were talking about that last week.
What is he talking about? And they're like, oh, yes, the watch. Yeah.
I know. I was so happy. It got here quick. Shout out to those Garmin folks. Once again, customer service is on point. They swapped out my watch fast. So I was very excited about that. But yeah, so I will, I may run tomorrow just because I want to test out. I haven't tested out the watch as far as doing like a run. I didn't even realize it was here. So the funny thing is I didn't check my mail yesterday and I was going through my email today and I got an email from Garmin saying my package had been delivered. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Because I wasn't supposed to get it till tomorrow. And so I told Miles to go out and check the mail and lo and behold, the only thing in my mailbox was my Garmin watch. So yay for me. I'm happy, but I may do like a very short run, like a 2-mile run tomorrow and see, just test it out. But all right, kids. Well, again, if anybody, any questions, any comments, any concerns, anything you guys want to talk about, feel free to email us. Once again, that email address is let's see where this goes from here @gmail.com. You can leave comments in the comments section. Be honest, but don't be mean. You know, we're just regular folks. We're just regular folks. I mean, speak your mind, but again, you know, do unto others, right? And also, like I said earlier, be curious and not judgmental. We all have opinions and we want to hear what they are and we want to answer any questions and we want to talk about things that you want to talk about, not just running. Although again, running is a big thing for us, but we're folks, man. We watch TV, we go out, we eat, we do stuff. We have families, we make mistakes, we learn from our mistakes and sometimes we make them again. So let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it. Missy, anything you want to say before we sign off?
I disagree with you said we make mistakes and sometimes we make them again.
Sometimes. I try not to. I'm pretty good about not making the same ridiculous fuck ups more than once, but I'm human. I may make it, but I try not to. If I, especially I try not to hurt people I care about. So, but that being said, well, everybody, thank you for tuning in. We will see you guys all again next week. Miguel and Missy out.
Bye.